Crimson Star, and we were having a debate on our plan of attack, and we decided to continue on down into this kind of flatland, this kind of river basin. I don't know the exact name
The
of it.
Aldani Basin.
That's correct. And then we decided to beach the canoes and disassemble them and hide them. And Wuce and Riceak went off to go explore and ran into three frost giants, which was very unexpected. We kind of freaked out, but then, Riceak did a little bit, and then Wuce talked his way out of it. And they're looking for some sort of frost ring. Then we came back to the boats, and there were lots of snake people, like in He-Man, or Conan rather, those giant snakes. And we had a little bit of a fight, and that's how things ended up.
Okay, cool. Does anybody happen to remember the name of those three frost giants?
Yeah, they were all B names. You said they were the
Bodin, Bran, and Beeden.
You said they were consecutive names in your name book.
Yeah, okay.
They were like Bodin, Bran, and Beeden, or something like this.
For sure, Bodin was definitely one of them, because I remember thinking, oh, it's Odin with a B.
Cool.
I think it was Bodin, Brodin, and Bloden.
Yeah, and they're searching for Artist Winter, who had the relic last. He was like a member of some organization and kind of double-crossed them and ran off with the ring.
He was a member of the Harpers, I believe, what people have been saying.
Yeah, but like no longer, because he betrayed them as well.
Right.
Cool. Well, why don't you go ahead and take our inspiration there, Riceak? Oh, I marked them with permanent marker in my Xanthar's Guide to Everything. That's cool.
Can't reset it. No longer mint condition there.
Yeah, usually I don't write in the books, but that's what you get when you play Drinking and Dragons, I guess. I'm not gonna.
Okay, bonus point. Do you remember your word?
Aarakocra. That one's easy enough.
Yes.
Yeah, so you guys are now probably be at about a day and a half's travel or so, you might gather, from the heart of Ubtao, where you're going to investigate. You've been receiving all throughout your time here in Chult various signs and omens that continue to point you in the direction of this central floating rock that looms above the jungles of Chult. I'd say that it's probably currently somewhere in the mid-afternoon time. The dark clouds are kind of rolling in towards you from the east, signifying that soon that the rains will probably begin to pour again, and you can kind of feel a cool breeze tussling through the jungle trees as you make your way on foot down through the basin and off towards the jungles and the territories of the undead, towards the heart of Ubtao to investigate what this place has been all about. Azaka kind of reiterates as you guys are traveling a bit of what the natives of Chult believe about the heart of Ubtao. Many of the Chultans who see the Earth Mote believe that it's the petrified heart of the god Ubtao himself, and they consider it a very sacred place. And the priests of Ubtao generally will travel here on the backs of flying dinosaurs to seek visions inside of the heart and to beseech Ubtao to return. And many Chultans would be maybe kind of upset if what you've been hearing is true, that somebody has taken over the heart as their personal lair.
Okay. Do you know how soon the storm would arrive to our position? Are we able to kind of judge that? Because we might want to camp tonight, guys, if we're going to be rained on. Like set up camp earlier than later, rather.
The clouds look like they're coming in pretty quickly, but you guys are fairly adept at traveling into the jungles. In this point, it's been raining most of your time here in Chult. This is probably just the first time that you've been traveling too deeply into the jungles on foot instead of on the rivers. But if what you know of your map is true, soon you'll be digging into the more dangerous areas of the jungles and where the undead are perhaps thicker and more dangerous.
Okay. Well, what do you guys think? Should we camp or just get as far as we can and then try to set up camp later on? Since it's only afternoon.
I think we should probably keep moving. I mean, we could deal with the rain, right?
Okay.
Depends on the rain.
Well, that's true.
Does it look like normal rain?
Yeah, I mean it looks like what normal rain for Chult probably. You get the impression that it's going to be a pretty heavy downpour.
Look at it this way, guys. It'll relieve our bug problem too.
That's true. Is Azaka with us?
Yeah, she is.
Always.
Azaka, is there any concern with like certain creatures that are out and about during rain, or is it more safe, or do you have any guidance?
Yeah, are there less frost giants out here when it rains?
They're kind of melted.
Azaka says,
No, it replenishes them.
The greatest danger when the rains are heavy is that the predators are harder to see and hear in the jungles. We should be okay if we continue traveling throughout the day, but we all need to keep a sharp eye. As for the frost giants, I did not see them myself, but if what you say is true, I've never heard of such manner of beings here on the jungle islands of Chult. They must really want whatever it is that they are looking for to make their journey all the way so far south. It must be very uncomfortable for them here.
I was going to say that as well. They must really want that ring.
Any uncomfortable giant is a good giant.
Another proverb?
Nah, just a dwarf not liking giants. They're too big. And ugly.
I hear you. So should we keep going then?
Sure.
Garn, I would say that as you guys are traveling through the it's kind of like more flatland here, so you guys are a little bit out in the open. You can see, far off in the distance, kind of on the like the lowland horizon, like where the jungle might start to get more dense again. But for now, as you're kind of skirting the Aldani Basin to your west, and you have the jungle to the north and east of you, as far as what you know that's been revealed on your map so far, you do feel quite vulnerable traveling through open ground. But the good thing about it is that you will probably see if anything does start to come for you. You'll probably see it despite the rains. Well in enough time to make preparations for whatever it is that might be coming your way. After traveling, I'd say for about an hour and a half or 2 hours, surely enough, the dark rolling clouds above do make their way overhead with rumbles of thunder that kind of vibrate the insides of your chests, and it does begin to heavily downpour, and after 10 or 15 minutes or so of raining, as you guys are traveling through the flatlands off towards the heart of Uptau along the Aldani Basin floor. You're just drenched all the way through as you make your way on foot towards the this petrified heart that hangs in the sky. As you approach closer and closer, I think especially Garn with your exceptional vision, you notice just before night falls, I think probably the massive chunk of earth that's hanging above the jungles. You see, it looks like there's a large petrified tree protruding up from the hunk of stone, and as night kind of fully takes hold, and you guys are now sort of skirting the edge of the more dangerous undead territories, you see what you believe to be maybe a large flock of big bats flutter out from the petrified tree into the night in search of prey.
How big are these bats?
For you, it's probably hard to tell, and you probably don't even see them. I think it's Garn's godly perception given to him by Thardhar's blessings that allows him to see from this distance still. You guys are probably another half day's travel, but night has fallen, and you are kind of vulnerable here. Any light that you produce camping in the night will most certainly attract attention.
I say we do a cold camp tonight.
One thing you do pick up on also, Garn, is there are all sorts of like dinosaur tracks, going every which way through here to and from the basin. You do notice stranger sets of footprints that are more kind of lumbering and much more kind of random in their patterns of travel that you would gather that are probably the tracks of undead. You notice a few tracks that probably you would gather are some of the Yanti people. They kind of are they look like slithers through the muddy basin floor. One set of tracks particularly stands out to you. It's a lone set of smaller humanoid footprints that seem to be going off towards the heart of Uptau, purposefully, and it's just a single set of prints that head off in that direction.
Can I follow them?
Yeah,
or
if you wanted to.
Loose. Hey, this looks weird. Can you come with me?
Sure. What is it that looks weird?
This set of tracks doesn't look right. It's heading toward the heart. Maybe there's another person heading that way.
This is like human. Can we identify anything about who's making the tracks from the tracks?
They look like they're some sort of humanoid footprint. They look slender and very light. They're leaving like many of the other imprints in the basin here are sink fairly deeply into the mud. The undead footprints and the dinosaur footprints, they leave greater impressions. These set of footprints seem like they're very light and don't not so much weight is put behind the footsteps, and whoever has made them is probably very lithe of foot.
Gotcha. I say, Garn, your eyes never cease to amaze me.
They almost look like they've been tried to be disguised, but just because of what the basin is like, it's pretty much impossible to hide sets of tracks. But they look like they've been tried to be kind of covered as whoever this person was traveling, tried to almost cover their tracks.
Is this just you and me thing, or do you want the whole party to come, or what?
We can bring the whole party, but I was kind of just seeing maybe what we could see. But
Yeah, let's go see what we can see.
You can hide, and I'll be a target if something starts heading our way. So that's more of what I was thinking.
Let's do it.
Do you have that messenger wand?
Always.
Okay, cool.
However, I'm down to 3 charges since I used them with the frost encounter.
Why don't you? We have this horn of alarm. Also, you could use that as a signal.
Okay, I'll take that.
This looks like something Garn would use.
As you're kind of setting up camp here, you do notice that the basin is kind of it's kind of rocky. There's the occasional like large boulder, and there are kind of shrubs and things like that too. That things that kind of can make for cover and things to hide behind. So in the night. As you are setting camp here in the basin, it's probably stuff that was resting on the basin floor at a time when maybe the waters here in the basin were fuller, but now it's kind of mostly dried out, especially as you make your way more inland. I like if you listen closely to the music that's going on right now, there's like little whispers in the background of it. I kind of like that. It's a little spooky. Yeah.
I can't hear the whispers.
The other major thing you do notice is there's a definite smell or scent of decay in the air here. You don't know if it's from the marshes or something more sinister.
I always fail safe towards sinister.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, let's go ahead and try and see what we see.
Yep.
Sure. How long do you follow the tracks for?
A couple of hours. That way we know we can get back.
I'd say after about 20 minutes or so, you come, you try and follow the tracks, and you come across a boulder, and it looks like it's been kind of disguised, but I think you notice it, Garn, that underneath there's a large boulder here, and kind of underneath it there's been a bit of a pit that's been dug out, and it's been kind of covered by brush and shrubs to try and disguise the entrance of it there, but it looks like it's something that leads to some sort of underground passage or something.
Okay, Wuce, I think we need to go get the rest of the people. If nothing else, this might be a place that we can rest and not be in the way of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, how long did we walk, Ryan?
I'd say about 20 minutes away from camp.
Can I use one of the charges on the message wand to relay that back to Riceak?
It doesn't have a distance
That's what I'm
stipulation.
asking. Here, let me see. What's the distance on message?
Yeah, on the message smell. Let me see.
Yeah, I can look. Let's race.
I know the distance on the horn of alarm is 600 feet, but you might be out of range for that.
120 feet for
Yeah,
message.
120 feet. So you're too far.
Just you can get there faster than I can, and I will stay here and look like I belong part of the stone.
Okay. All right. Like on the other side of the coin, I could hide better than you, but you're right. I do move faster. So if that's what you want to do, I'll just start huffing. I'll streak back.
Works for me. I'll stay here and do my best to be one with the rock.
This would have been a good time to have Asaka with us. So we got to remember that for next time.
Yeah, because she could go cat form and go really fast.
Plus, then I get a chance to ride her again. Although I wouldn't need to. She could just go back on her own. But...
Garn, why don't you give me a stealth check?
Bye, Garn.
Oh, brilliant.
Go ahead and give yourself some guidance, dog.
Wuce, you take off back towards camp.
9 total.
9. Dope.
And after about 10 minutes or so, when Wuce disappears, you hear a noise, probably I'd say maybe 60 feet or so. It's kind of like a slow slopping noise, like footprints kind of beating down into the muddy basin floor. And you see the shadows of movement through the rain and the darkness, and it looks like it's some sort of dinosaur like creature that's probably 3 times your height, but it's not one that you've come across yet in your time here on Cholt. But it's kind of hunched over. Actually, it looks probably like a miniature version of the undead Tyrannosaurus Rex that you guys fought, just much smaller.
Since I'm pretty sure I've been seen, I'm going to go to where the beginning of that cavern is or hole is, and then be there so nothing can attack me from behind.
Okay, sure. As you kind of shuffle closer to the hole, the creature breaks off into a full sprint in your direction. And as it's rushing closer and closer towards you at a rapid pace, what do you do?
I cast Spirit Guardians and hope the hell it'll scare it off.
Okay. As I'd say, so I'd say that the creature is about. I'd say the creature's maybe closing quickly, and it's about 20 feet away from you, and you raise your mace and shield and relinquish the guarding spirits of Thardhar that begin to magically pour out from your body and swirl and dance in the night as the rain comes down around you. The green glowing spirits pushing out around you and the rocks to protect you, and from behind, as the creature in front of you is rushing towards you, you hear many more sets of footprints slapping in the mud, and I would like you to select your token for me and roll initiative.
I mean, don't split the party.
Lessons learned, man.
I don't have a basin map. We'll use the random battle map for this.
Now I have that Mortal Kombat song stuck in my head. It's like the best part of the movie franchise is that song. That's me being a hater, I guess. But a lover of that song, am I right?
For sure.
You guys know what song I'm talking about?
Nope.
There's
Yeah.
I could keep going, but it's just you gotta listen to it. It's
I'll
really
look it up.
That's good. Is that a big pile of dung? What is that?
It's a boulder.
Oh, that's a boulder. Now I see it. It looks like a burnt cookie.
Ryan, can I ask a question?
Sure.
How far away is this engagement, like meta? How far away is this engagement happening from both Wuce and where the rest of the party is?
Wuce is let's see.
Halfway.
10, 20. Wuce is now probably, let's see, 10 rounds in a minute, right?
Yeah.
Roos is 100 rounds away. The rest of you are 200 rounds away.
Whoa.
Garn is dead.
No, you're not, dude. You got this.
Well, we'll first pop your spirit guardians because
You're gonna need them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just put some weeds down and run around in a circle around that rock for 200 rounds. Oh boy.
Gosh bless America. How many are there?
At least the tokens are tiny.
You remember when I rolled 3d6 earlier? That's how many there
So
are.
the answer is 12.
Azaka would tear these guys up, though.
Yeah, because she doesn't get hit and hurt.
I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, thanks for the free XP, Garn.
So as soon as they enter your radius, they take the damage, right?
Yep.
What did you roll on your first, or did you roll it?
I haven't.
Okay, go ahead and roll your spirit guardians for me. $17. So as the first one that was, oh wait, no, that's not the one. Let's see, 5, 10. You hear a screech from behind the boulder, as your spirit guardians basically disintegrate one of the raptors as it first enters your radius of your protectors granted to you by your gracious god. 3, 4, and more screeches through the rain and the dark night as you're here alone behind this boulder. As you hear them fall with a thud in the muck around you, as they try to penetrate your guardians. And Garn, you're up.
Wait, how's that look again? They just hit like an invisible wall, like force field thing, or what?
It's the way I've been describing it is there's monkeys that are just jumping all over the place, scratching at things. Spiritual monkeys, so they can be seen through and everything like that.
Yeah,
So it's a wall of monkeys.
I imagine they're kind of like translucent, green, like bright green, but you can see like the outlines of the monkeys, and as they kind of jump and dance around, like, kind of like the green sparkles are flying off them as they dart around you.
Or kind of like a jungle gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
I take the dodge action.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that your spirit guardians is gonna kill everyone. These guys are pretty weak, but it was a random encounter I rolled, so.
Well, I understand.
Let's see, 1, 2.
How dare you roll a random encounter?
And as the final one, who initiated the distraction for the rest of his buddies to try and find an easy meal, penetrates your spiritual barrier. All the monkeys kind of turn at once and look at the final creature, and they just kind of steamroll over him into a pile of magical energy. And as they tear the last beast to shreds, the magical aura around you kind of dissipates, and your monkey friends disappear, and you're left in the darkness and the rain with 12 dead velociraptors around you, netting you whopping 600 experience. You can take that solo or split it with the party if you want.
I'll split it. And all of us be the same. Or close to it.
You took the words out of my mouth there.
When this session is over, we'll just go back and farm velociraptors for XP.
I'll just add it to the total for the end of the session.
Okay.
And then we get there and build a big statue of the monkey Jim.
I thought they might be like a CR3 or something, but nope, 1/4.
If they were a CR3,
well, together that equals a 3, right? 12/4.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you'd still probably kill 12 CR3s if they're just making regular melee attacks against you, just because of your AC and the Spirit Guardians. I think you'd get them all.
That and taking the dodge action.
Yeah.
That's some missed XP right there. Just joking. So I'm still sprinting.
Yeah, Wuce, you make it back unhindered. Eventually, kind of probably the front of your body's all like dusted up with muck and mud. All kind of from running through the basin. You know, your fur's all now like matted down and muddy.
Yeah, once I feel like I'm close to range, I start trying to use the wand, and I finally do get it. I'm just like broken because I'm like out of breath. Like, Garn, hold, stone. Yeah, that's how I let them know what's happening.
Sure.
Well, shit, did it work? What the hell?
Yeah. Who do you message?
Riceak.
Riceak, so you get a message from Wuce in your mind, and a short time later, a huffing, puffing rat makes his way into camp. Just shortly after you receive the message, proclaiming.
As soon as I get the message, I make ready.
Sure. You guys are probably like mostly set up camp by this point, so whatever your sleeping arrangements are have probably all been set out, and Azaka's probably cooking up some like snakes that she's gone and skewered. So you kind of have to like disassemble or leave.
I thought we said this was a cold camp tonight.
You know Azaka, she does what she wants.
And then I just start packing stuff up. We gotta go. Come on.
What do you mean? Where's Garn?
Exactly. That's why we gotta go. We found what might be an entrance to some underground cavern, and he's there hiding. You guys know how well Garn hides, right?
So I grab my stuff and I start heading out.
It's about 20 minutes in this direction. Let's go. Leave the rats. Leave the snake, I mean. Sorry, Freudian slip. Let's go.
Yeah, Azaka puts out the small campfire that she's been cooking on to try and, but that she's tried to conceal at least so to not draw really much attention. She bites the head off of one of the probably half-cooked snakes, and leaves the rest there to just wait, and then you guys head off towards where you left Garn.
I look at her and I'm like reaching out to one of the other half-cooked snakes, and I say, "May I?"
Yeah, she doesn't stop you.
And just devour it.
Might as well not let them go to waste.
Then I grab the other one as well. I delete double fisting.
And you guys head back towards Garn. Garn, nothing else creeps up on you, really. But you know, the scent of blood now here out in the open has a pretty high chance, you know, of probably attracting larger predators.
Well, I was going to move the bodies, drag them off, and throw them a distance away. So if something comes, they won't see. Hopefully, they won't be attracted to me as well as the bodies.
Yeah, sure. Let's see.
And it's still raining too, so that's going to dilute it some.
Yeah, they're probably still fairly heavy creatures, but I'd say, what's your strength score?
15.
15. Yeah, you probably can start dragging them off into a pile, kind of a distance away from the rock. But for the time being, you are left alone. But you're definitely now kind of a little more on edge, probably, because you know that those dead creatures might attract some more nonsense. And eventually you hear in the distance approaching what you would probably gather to be the sound of your companions, which is probably a relief.
Yeah.
And Wuce, you managed to... well, actually, Wuce, why don't you give me a survival check to not get lost trying to find the boulder in the rain and the darkness, and not kind of get lost.
Wait, say that again?
Give me a survival check to track the right spot back down.
Can I use inspiration there?
Sure.
Done.
Why don't you re-roll it for me?
Alright.
There you go. Yeah, so you do, even though the rains have pretty quickly washed away some of the tracks that you and Garn had made, because of your haste running back so quickly. Some of your return tracks you are able to pick up on, and they lead you back to where you left Garn, and you find him there amongst the body of a pile of dead dinosaurs nearby.
Do we notice the remnants of the fight at all, or no?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Looks like you got into a bit of a scuffle here, huh?
Well, Dardhar protected me, so I was happy.
Doesn't he always? He is a he, right?
Yeah. Sometimes the gods like to play jokes, so I always praise them in case they decide I'm a joke at some point. Or the brunt of one.
That's cynical.
Nice. All right. Cool.
We found this hole in the ground that's been covered up and looked like it could go further in. If nothing else, it could get us out of the rain.
Are any of these creatures edible?
All of them are edible.
Yeah, I'll eat the fuck out of these creatures.
Because Azaka had a pretty great meal cooked up, and we had to leave it to come help you.
Yeah, there's dino steaks are like a pretty popular thing back in Port Nyanzaru.
But these aren't like undead kind of creatures?
No, they look to be alive and flesh, real flesh. There's no decay about them or anything.
Well, should we cut one up and then take it with us?
Sure, I can do that.
All right.
What a bountiful meal you have provided for us, Garn. I only wish I could have seen your feat of bravery, facing these creatures alone. A
He's a
sight it
true
must have
provider.
been.
It's darn hard, guys. He just got done saying he praises them in case he's the joke or something, right?
Yes, I know of his foolish god or whatever.
Yeah,
So-
you guys get some pretty prime cuts of Velociraptor.
And
Raptor
you said that there was a
celluloid?
cave? Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, you said there was a cave that we could possibly stay in?
Well, nobody's actually like investigated it yet, but yeah, it looks to be like there's been some sort of opening dug out beneath this boulder here that's been like tried to be concealed.
So let's start to go in. Or go under.
Yeah, so as you kind of move the shrubs away, it looks like there's been kind of a really rough, mucky stairway that's been kind of dug out through the kind of wet, loose ground underneath the boulder in the basin, and it goes down a ways, and then it kind of opens up into a small room that is darkly lit.
How large is the room?
It's probably about 20 by 20, and it looks like it's been dug out mostly by hand or crude instruments. If you have night vision, you notice that there's kind of a it's been kind of mostly dried out down here, although there is kind of the ceiling's fairly wet, and water does kind of trickle down through it, but otherwise it looks like it's been made to be some sort of makeshift shelter of sorts. There's like a small cot in one corner. There's a little roughly carved out table. Why doesn't somebody give me a history check? There are some little shelves that have been kind of dug out in one of the walls, and there are small different little provisions that have been left there. There's a small store of dried meat and other food. Riceak.
How long ago does this place look lived in? Is there like
It
dust
looks-
and everything?
No, it looks like it's actively lived in now, although there's nobody currently here. There are a few books on one of the little shelves that's been dug out as well, and there's a small kind of in the wall above where the little roughly carved table is. There's a symbol of the Emerald Enclave, which is an organization from mainly back on the mainlands. They're kind of the protectors of nature.
Is that the one that Ian knew about?
No, those were the
No bigs, just a question.
Garn and Sorey, you want to take a look at those books? That's more your style, I think.
Certainly. Actually, I go around trying to see first if there's any kind of secret entrance in or out, or I should say going out.
I go straight for the book.
And I look to see if there's any rat remains there.
There doesn't appear to be any rat remains. And it seems like the place that you guys came in was the only way in or out of this small living space here. There's like a couple of long bows leaning up against one wall that look like they're like halfway through being like carved and handmade, and as well as some like handmade, what looks to be handmade arrows as well that are also kind of like halfway done. they're missing the only thing they're missing are the arrowheads. Like the shafts have been carved and they've been feathered, and they're all just missing arrowheads.
I go to the doorway and keep a watch out for anyone returning.
Sure. So there's 2 books. One of the books looks like it was probably procured in Port Nyanzaru itself. It has a lot of information about, like the more known areas of Chult itself, as well as information about making surviving in the jungles and making bug repellent and some of the local what some of the local flora and fauna can be used for. It's like a visitor's guide kind of almost. In the bottom corner of the front page, it is actually signed by the author, and it says Volothamp Gadarn. And
Volo's guide to Chult, huh?
Yep, and the other book looks like it's it's also kind of like a user's guide, as well as like a personal notebook of like the tenants of the Emerald Enclave, and whoever's been staying here, like their personal notes on the jungles themselves. Yep, that's
including a map update.
The last name is Geddarm, but Volothamp is correct. There are some rough sketches of there's probably about five or six pages in concession that are probably rough sketches of specific areas of Chult, but there doesn't seem to be a large entire map of the island like you guys possess.
Are those pages labeled at all? Like, would it be worthwhile to try and copy them into our notes?
Just take the book.
Or take the book, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything useful for like your knowledge of the forest, Wuce? Like poisons and things?
Well, I can scan through it. I mean, if no one else is looking at it.
And potential cures or remedies for those sicknesses we saw?
One of the first pages of some of the hand-drawn little maps, the page is labeled Wreck of the Star Goddess, and it looks like a drawing of kind of a bunch of trees all kind of spread out with their branches all kind of interwoven and connecting, and it looks like there's been a sailing ship kind of impaled on the tree, and the sails are all wrapped and torn around the branches.
Does that look familiar to you, Riceak?
And then there's like a little compass drawn on one corner of the edge of the paper with the direction of which way it is.
Would I have any history of this ship? Or any knowledge of the history, rather?
You can make
because of my nautical experience.
You can make a history check. I'd say since it's a specific history relating to ships specifically, you can make it with advantage.
All right. Brilliant.
The only thing that
16's hard to beat, man.
uh,
Don't forget guidance.
the only ship you've ever heard of, called the Star Goddess, which you would know of, I think probably just because it's a popular ship that sea sailors talk about from time to time. The only thing you really know about it is that it's a sky ship.
Can you say that again? Oh, guys?
A sky ship.
Oh, sky ship.
A
Ah,
sky
okay.
ship.
God, we need one of them.
Yeah.
Like in Final Fantasy.
Yep. Kind of like a blimp.
Got it. Looks like a sky ship.
What I
You
know
said there's
anymore.
directions in there? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Sorey, I think you would know that the Star Goddess was from a place called Halrua, which is I believe back on the mainlands, and the people of Halrua are known for their innovation in sky sailing, and Halruan adventurers tend to make these sky ships. They are hard to come by. The Halruans do not tend to sell them to outsiders. They tend to keep the secrets of their airships to themselves, and but they're highly coveted. Masterworks of engineering and innovation in this age.
Okay, I relay that information to the rest of the party, condescendingly, as if though it's something that's obvious.
Sure.
I scoff.
Man, what is the deal with this guy?
I don't know. Why doesn't he go back to filing his nails?
I look at Garn, but don't say anything, but like imply, you know, what's the deal, man? Like questioningly. Hey, what's the history between you two here? We got some downtime here. Can we get some backstory? What's going on?
He says I'm an asshole. He's in the bathroom right now.
There's there is kind of like a small kind of like cooking pit here, and you do notice once you get some light going that there's been kind of a small hole dug up through to the surface where it can kind of vent out smoke and bad air. So you are kind of protected now from the hazards of outside, and do find a probably a much safer place than out in the open to rest. And maybe
No dead. Cool.
or remnants of rat bones.
Do I find anything?
And from what you know of, Magnus, you have no reason to believe that he'd ever have anything to do with the Emerald Enclave. The Emerald Enclave tends to be a more good-natured band of people who would probably not really have anything to do with a person like Magnus.
Hey, maybe he's turned to leave.
Yeah, you never know.
Would we be able to pinpoint where the Star Goddess is on our map based on the book's information?
So if you would assume that the owner of this book is marking his locations and directions with the center, with the focal point being on like his little home base here, then you would think that that the wreck of the Star Goddess would be kind of in the southwesternly direction off this way.
Okay.
Possible reclaiming expedition?
Yeah, it might be a good side.
Nothing in there about like poisons or antidotes for regional ailments?
And I actually found a little better.
Are you talking about Star Goddess?
Yeah, Star Goddess. Halrua was one of the main focal points of a time called the Spell Plague. Hauruans are known for their powerful wizards, and much of Haurua was destroyed during the time of the Spell Plague, and it's largely been restored to its magic might. They are typically adept at divination magic, and so this is some of the stuff that you would know, Sorey.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
The Hauruans, they're very magically adept. They're famously known for their powerful wizards, and they're especially adept at divination magics. And so that and their sky vessels is what the Hauruans are known for. They went through a rough time in the Spell Plague, which I believe happened a few hundred years ago from the current time we're in now, but they've managed to mostly restore their magical prowess and their people to their full power.
All right.
And then, sorry, Wuce, what did you ask me?
Anything in there that might help with my poisoner kit slash
Oh yeah, poisoner
cure, goal for the cure, hospitalization back in the port?
Yeah, there is there's a place. One of the pages depicts a drawing of kind of like a beautiful garden with these stone statues throughout it. Kind of a tiered garden scene, and some of the notes in the margin of the page talk about some of the plants that grow there's deadly poisonous properties as well as highly hallucinogenic properties. And the direction of the compass that points in that page on the map is in this direction, towards where, maybe a bit south of, but towards where you think Kirsabal is.
Okay, I'll try and remember that. I guess we could take note of it.
Are you gonna note it?
And that page is titled at the top Nangalore, Nangalore.
Got it.
Can you say that again? Sorry.
Nangalore.
Nangao or LORE.
I typed it out in the chat for you.
Thank you.
Well, should we rest? Do you guys need to do anything? And then,
I need to rest.
okay, I can take first watch.
I'll take second.
Yeah, just throw me in whenever, wherever.
Okay.
For Garn's sake, I will take a watch.
Mighty kind of you.
I know. Don't expect it to happen again.
Yes, he's an asshole, but he's good at what he does, as he's proven.
Which is what, being an asshole?
Yes.
The rest of the night goes by pretty uneventfully. You find that Azaka is pretty proficient at cooking meats without much to work with, and she begins to make a small fire and help or start cooking the dino steaks that you've just cut out from the creatures above. I'd say probably like a couple hours into the night, you do hear a few larger creatures probably come in and start to tear apart the dead velociraptors above you. But if you don't attempt to engage them, then
No, I stay quiet. I'm not gonna antagonize anything unnecessarily. Do I know how many creatures, like how big they are?
from the sounds that are going on above, it seems like there's probably two large, very large creatures that are now fighting over the beasts above. So they're kind of roaring out into the jungles, and it seems like they're fighting with each other over the dead meat.
Okay.
You gather that they'd probably be the size of maybe the undead Tyrannosaurus that you guys fought, but you can't be so sure whether they're alive or dead. From the amount of noise that they're making, you probably gather that they're actually live beasts.
Got it.
And eventually you hear the battle above you kind of die down, and you hear one of the creatures kind of take off, and the victor is left there to have his feast and reward for being the better predator. And then eventually...
Does anyone have animal handling?
I do.
I mean, now's your chance to get a kick-ass mount.
I doubt I could get a T-Rex.
I'm just brainstorming.
I mean,
Hey, do you want to take a hit off this glass shard, man?
I have to take watch, but I mean, we're pretty safe inside. I mean,
Oh, you are taking watch tonight. Yeah. Sorry, never mind. Well, just let me know, man. Things unlimited, dog. We just.
Oh, I will let you know. I'll let you know. I want at some point. I need to scale this up.
Anyone not taking watch that wants to meet their god?
Man, I swear that the Sword Coast Adventures Guide had information on the 4 factions, but I guess not.
Just shoot from the hip, man. Make sure this is recording for science and stuff.
Yeah, but morning eventually comes. Some of the chewing sounds above fade off, and you hear the large beast kind of lumber off into the jungles. And whoever pokes their head out in the early mornings sees the bloody mess of flesh and bone that's been torn to bits nearby, as well as a heavy pooling of blood that kind of teeters off back towards the Aldani Basin from probably the wounded creature who lost the battle. It's a pretty gory scene up above. And the rains have died down a little bit, but they'll probably wash away most of this blood soon enough. And the rest of the remnants of the corpses probably be left to be picked away by lesser predators and maybe some passing terror folk.
Have you guys taken the book?
I believe Wuce said that he was going to take them.
Riceak told me I should take it. If you guys don't want me to take it, I won't take it.
I don't care.
I mean, it's just if you take it, I'll leave a little note saying I owe you 1 book on the table. Sorry.
Do you sign it with like your full name and title and everything? Like. Sigismund, Knight of Lyra.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
When he's not looking, I scratch it out on a Zaka.
All right, give me a sleight of hand check then, and why don't you give me a perception check, Sigismund?
I want both of you to burn your inspiration on this. Let's make this a real competitive roll.
8.
Yeah. So you do so. Let's see if Azaka notices that as well.
Azaka's gonna notice for sure. She's like, "You have offended me." Nope.
Yes.
Azaka actually, when she spends most of the she spends a little bit of time actually kind of making sure that most of what you was here is kind of left as it was, but she doesn't notice the she doesn't notice the note that you leave and that you change the name on it to her.
Hey Ryan.
Yeah.
Does Azaka ever just hang out in cat form? And if so, does she ever like clean herself while she's in cat form?
Oh my god.
Okay.
She would.
I'm asking because there's a cat on the table next to me, so it just made me think.
I think that she might from time to time, but if she did, she'd probably go off in private to do it. And you didn't. She had told Ion that she's not necessarily totally fond of being a lycanthrope. It's kind of even though it's come in handy for her most of her life, it's also been kind of a burden and fairly alienating, because sometimes she doesn't have control of it.
So I try and tell her that I understand that I can't go out of rat form, so I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I start try, if I ever see her, I try mimic her bathing techniques. I'm trying for the first time in my rat life, clean myself like a cat.
Such a complicated identity.
I don't know how rats clean themselves. They're probably actually pretty clean.
One of you probably looks over into one of the little corners of the makeshift shelter down here, and Wuce has got his leg lifted up by his head, and he's licking underneath his thigh or something,
We call this yoga, guys. This is yoga.
The rat pose.
Yeah.
For sure.
Downward facing dirty rat.
Someone say get a room. I don't have a room.
But the rains have died down a bit. The sky, I would not say, is necessarily clear this morning, but the darkness of the clouds is a little more of a lighter gray, and there are shards of faint light poking out through. It's kind of a light drizzle now than more of a torrential downpour as you emerge from the little shelter here that you've discovered.
It's a beautiful day. I kind of playfully or agilely avoid the direct sunlight.
Yeah. Whoever has made this place is probably fairly adept at surviving, because it seems like they are on their own. I don't know. How much do you think Garn would know much about the Emerald Enclave, being kind of a nature-based cleric?
Yes.
So the Emerald Enclave is kind of a far-ranging group that opposes threats to the natural world, and so the curse, I'd say, might fall into that category, and they tend to help others survive the many perils of the world, but they tend to operate fairly independently or in really small cells. A ranger might be hired to lead a caravan through a treacherous mountain pass or a frozen tundra. A druid might volunteer to help a small village or prepare for a long, brutal winter. Barbarians and witches, most of the order, live like hermits most of their years and might defend a town against marauding orcs or barbarians. Members of the Emerald Enclave know how to survive, and more importantly, they want to help others do the same. They are not opposed to civilization or progress, but they strive to prevent civilization and wilderness from destroying one another.
Got you.
And so this has the this little shelter has the mark of the Enclave, which is a stag's head. It's been kind of carved into the wall. The other faction I think you were thinking about was the Zentarim. Who you
Oh, they're all.
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah.
They're also after the ring.
Also, was there any thief cant written anywhere?
No.
Gotcha. Should we write some thief cant? I say to Riceak.
Yeah. Add something to the. I let him in on the joke with Azaka, and then tell him to emphasize on that.
You bad man.
What do you write in Thieves' Cant?
Something to the lines of, "Thanks for the room and board. Hope I can return the favor." Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, sure.
XOXO Hazaka.
Is it in? Does thief cant look like glyphs? What is it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a symbolic, more in written. It's more of a symbolic language. Even when spoken, it's kind of more a gesture, symbolic, kind of jumbled sort of.
Almost like ASL, little
Yeah.
word.
Thieves' Cant. But I imagine that you guys just continue heading towards the heart now. That's a little more visible, right?
To the window, to the heart. Yes.
Yeah, but I suggest we stay out of any sort of clearing in case they can see us from the heart.
Yeah, Thieves' Cant is a secret mix of dialect, jargon, and code that allows you to hide messages in seemingly normal conversation. Only another creature that knows Thieves' Cant understands such messages. It takes 4 times longer to convey such a message than it does to speak the same in a common tongue. So it's like stuff you might slip into normal conversation, and someone who also knows Thieves' Cant might pick up on it, or I think there is probably symbology that goes along with it as well from time to time to like leave behind messages for somebody else or something.
Word.
And sorry, Riceak, what'd you say?
I just suggested to the group that we kind of stay out of any clearings if at all possible to keep ourselves not visible from the heart of Uptown.
Yeah, so I mean, if you kind of zoom in on the map here, it's fairly open all the way to the heart, and then past the heart, it starts to kind of break off into jungles again. So, you can still try and kind of maintain as much cover as possible as you travel through the basin, the rocky basin. But for the most part, you're exposed, especially to anything flying overhead.
Okay.
And there are occasionally like the passing, large jungle beasts, the dinosaurs, some of which you see kind of like a small herd of in the morning heading towards the more watery portion of the basin, a small herd of triceratops kind of slowly making their way in that direction. It looks like a few adults kind of herding a couple of younger ones off in that way, but they don't seem to make any aggressive move towards you. They seem to be just going for probably a morning drink.
Okay.
The biggest, I'd say the biggest thing to worry about currently is probably a band of terrafolk, flying overhead. But you guys are pretty experienced at fighting them at this point. You just know that if that were to happen, they'd probably attack you instantly. They don't really have much. They prey on anything that moves. So hopefully, I don't roll a big terrafolk random encounter. Otherwise, we might just play it out verbally, because
I'll let Sorey just kill them all.
Yeah. But eventually, you guys travel another half day or so, and the Heart of Obtao becomes clearer. Let me make sure that this map is set up so I don't reveal anything too quickly here, because some of these maps are kind of weird if you don't have you can't see them without the dynamic lighting not enabled. So I'll just make sure that the map is okay first. Okay, so I think I'll switch it to... Actually, no. I'll do this instead. I think there should be a handout, so I'll just give the handout first. Yeah, here we go. So you guys, all not just you, Garn, but all now begin to see the Heart of Obtao come into view as the light rains fall around you, and 200 feet above your heads now, what you see is this massive chunk of earth and rock torn from the earth that drifts over the swampy forest about 100 feet above the ground. So I guess it's 200 feet if you're on top of it. A petrified tree towers above the stone, with its stone roots protruding from the bottom of the rock shape and branching out its tree limbs. This creates the impression of a gigantic stone heart hanging from the sky. The impression is only made more gruesome by the red liquid dripping from the roots. You see a cave mouth in the side of the slowly rotating heart, and a staircase winding from the top, from the cave up to the flattened top where the petrified tree stands. The staircase definitely isn't natural, and it looks like it was carved. And here is the handout for the Heart of Obtao.
Oh, nice.
And you guys, I don't know how close do you get? You know, I mean, anything that was on top would see you approaching pretty much.
What is directly underneath it? Is there a clearing? Is there like some sort of structure?
It's just open ground. There is kind of a small crater that looks like it's been mostly filled in over time, but I think like Garn might notice that the portion of this stone was at some point just torn up and out of the earth and left to be suspended here in the air above the jungles of Chult.
Is it still raining?
Uh-huh.
That's some powerful magic that can do that to that large piece of stone.
Totally agree with that.
If
So
only
what's
we
our
could
plan?
study it.
Yeah, the massive chunk of earth that is suspended in midair looks like it's rotating counterclockwise, and depending on how much time you guys spend here, well, I guess approaching it you would notice, and I think Garn, you it seems that the heart completes a rotation once every hour.
Does it ever move up and down?
Nope, it appears to hang at this one level and doesn't do anything but rotate counterclockwise.
So I guess the question is, would there be any way to do maybe fire an arrow up and get a rope started that somebody could climb up?
I say we don't actually need to shoot an arrow up. We could just fly up there.
How high off the ground is it?
Who can fly?
Faye can?
Faye can fly, yeah.
Oh, I can fly also with the harp.
Yeah, so we just need to tie a couple of ropes together.
Yeah, that's about the only way we're going to be able to get up there is for that to happen?
It's high, how high off the ground is it?
It hovers 200 feet above the ground, and
Whoa.
yeah. So it's about 100 feet. It's about 100 feet lower than Firefinger at its highest point, because I believe Firefinger was 300 feet high.
And then at what distance do we feel it's going to spot us coming?
If anybody was up there, they would have spotted you by now. But you haven't seen any movement outside of the heart.
If we have enough rope, I could just dimension door up there. Range is 500 feet.
Can you take anyone with you?
Well, I can fly up there, but he would get up there much quicker, obviously.
And I can take one person with me as well.
I'm looking at the heavy people in the armor. Climbing is probably not going to be our best thing. So I was trying to go. Me and Sig both need a trip up there.
So how about this? How about one of you take a trip with Wuce, and then I can cast fly on the other one, and then I'll climb the rope.
Before I'd say we'll do a quick. I gotta use the restroom, so this is probably, before we go any farther, a good place to take our break. So
Sure.
let's do like a quick break, and then we'll come back and dig deeper into the heart of Ubtao.